I started reading about this whole concept of vice president. I heard that even the word vice is not an English word, it's a Latin word meaning in place of, and blah, blah, blah. So President Onua in place of, in place of. Tell me about the concept of vice presidentship in the politics of this world.
Well, to start from where you began, say vice, or Latin word to say vice. It is obia obua obi auxiliary. Now, and then we should also praise the English people. The English language, is the only language that the normal for Frabeshi many. To say kwashiokwa is an English word, but borrowed from Ghana.
That's right.
I'm sorry, English word. Ghana for the another word because you have some bedia to doom so. So bedia to me. Binum say hamatan ko borrow from Ghana. English language is always growing. So borrow bebre from Latin, French, and others. Now, America, any the first country in the world that omoji won fan who die extra amamu krata a friend of constitution. Nti o man bia wo wiase no e de won amamu krata no ana amamu ni na de to America e de ho na America ifo je won fan who die about 300 years ago efi enyiresifoɔ ɛhɔ no definitely enam sɛ enya abro ahemfo na hya wɔn wasinti edi wɔn so nti enya ade a ombɛka queen or queen ɛwɔ hɔ your friend is a cabinet system there be ordinary people enti omu yi president. Now the first one was Washington. Initially no na omu ni bibia your friend no vice president. Okay. And it came in as an afterthought to say, na nipa no way as president, have you considered the say where nipa at any time obetuma yare akoda hospital be 2-3 months na wo yare bi a malaria bi attack no obetumi so nya stroke kura obetumi abodam ultimately obetumi ewu ne 4 years no na ontwa enwie. And the moment as answer mama bobosu nyina no emu bi ebesi no like oyare no da hospital when the best sign normal to say checks be Bank of Ghana for one sign be say international loan be obeche meeting be and net date na nka so obeche e ba yes president no da kolebu let us say no kwa wo expose president no to the public enti sadia yenya obi a oye ne boafo eno na ma akire no the concept of vice presidency no ebemu nti sa me bone tofa me ka kire wo say the issue of vice president, that idea no philosophically ne ba wontirmu kane say enam so mampani ye nipa no there must always be continuity of government irrespective of his frailties as a human being. Wo we ye nipa obetuma yare, we ye nipa obetuma bodam, we ye nipa obetumi ewu no must not affect the country's governance. Okay. And because and very likely so me no be the same time or me no be stroke the same time. That was the first idea. Okay. The second idea was this: what 3 or more political party, 2-3 or more political parties. Now a cocoa banner say parties no Martin a day praise wine be president or mampeni. Inti Ghana ma men fan say NDC MPP SCPP. Sa parties me say na MPP call Congress no omu akoyi obi oye northerner. NDC so call Congress no omu so akoyi obi oye northerner. Na CPP so call Congress akoyi obi oye northerner. That means say o man no ehye northerners esremfo ensem at the expense of the rest of the country. Okay. Now that can breed anger, inequality or anything bibia betimi asi nti yehia wo bia obe balance system no amaye say 3 political parties or 4 or 5 or 6 no so mun nyina yi one presidential candidate from our hand
the 2 political parties
no almost na potentially betumi choose the next president of Ghana e de amaye no na ya hwe ye na say etoa so a na say nipa that big country no one session pebe to make years so for the next 100 years into young creative system bia a balance no such that at any point in time the president will be preparing another president
from to come different
the president will be preparing another president. And why should he come from a different place? Even the Americans, tribalism may be anyone. And Jane said there can always be a darling boy of a certain state, and people would always choose their darling boys first. And to say even Ghana, see a kwakoto aba. Now we presidential candidate from voter regional. Nipa no one perform kura no ube who say voter for beto amano. Using Chirabosom as a classic example. Sabi about educational level, personality, BP. I want to mean fanon to omo contesting, but he did something very spectacular. Emma or jumping from wherever he was coming from. Ebedi third. We ma declare here. This Chirabosom, this one simple thing. Ne fire TV no. And no chance say oh yi Kwame Nkrumah documentary sa na Ghana for adwene ba won ho say the Nkrumah tradition is almost dead. Na NDC tradition, the Rollins tradition, MPP Batem ho tradition. Kwame Nkrumah de no party bia ni ho a otumi project. And na papa eyiyi Kwame Nkrumah ni mfoni ni e de kire Ghana for out of sympathy. People voted for Chirabosom. Bedi third. America got to know this almost 300 years ago. So adibia wayen, you will have natural sympathizers. Nti se kobasa president no oni vice. President ni sympathy no ko no. So many presidents would come on be free one place. Nti yempe obia se president no so yinwa. Only ni free another place or the different sympathy a day eba. And that is why in American politics, you don't really come across president and the running mate coming from the same state. But so we every northern state in Mubi, now we every southern state. And in Ghana politics, why should I not say the aye ejuma ye pa? Obi presidential candidate says 79 constitutional. Mihuni yeno, Dr. Hillary Liman, every northern region at that time. Now ne running mate, Dr. DeGraff Johnson, every central region. Mr. Victor Owusu, Efra Ashanti, na ne running mate Alhaji Yakubu Tali Tolo na of Northern region. Oba third Republica, and a fourth Republic here. And also Yahuni na say, Nipa mienu bi enu every one place da. Na and non so ebwa in bringing equilibrium because President Atta Mills ewu referee mo no. When we say automatically power shifted from the south, the very deep south to the very deep north. Because of the concept of vice presidency philosophy no America for the ba ye dibia ba your constitution no mo. And Nana Akufo-Addo when we say ne running mate no any baumia because the Americans felt that if you choose a president because the vice president is the second highest position in the executive arm of government, there must be somebody very well prepared and in waiting and potentially becoming the next president so that the dream of the country would be spearheaded and not stalled. In Tisawasha, on also prepare will be for 8 years in the government. I mean, Akufo-Addo. And young one was a push in say, on standing. Okostande no so owini here. Inti Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil, everywhere you use the presidential system, you know. Ubongu said the vice president is either the new president is either the vice president of the previous one, to say Goodluck Jonathan or Dramani Mahama, or Antisa is a
even Professor Mills, vice president too.
That is it, or a very experienced politician from parliament. Or an experienced politician from the government, executive, our minister, Aceh. So in the case of vice president, you don't surprise anybody because there must be continuity.
You don't surprise anybody.
You don't, because we have the party that will give birth to the government, and the government will give birth to the presidency.
But usually in the matter of Professor John Evans Fifiati Mills, I don't know. I've not read much about him, but I saw him as a vice president. That time, now, only too known in the circles of the NDC, he was, a professor teaching at Legon. Ushe Alihu Mahama, he was also not too known in the political circles. even Dr. Baumia, NPP for Krasi, Womunsu, so if you look at the track records of these people, as compared to John Dramani Mahama, who was a member of parliament and a former minister of state.
Matter where you say, let's start from Rollins. You see, Rollins wanted to build a tradition.
Okay.
A traditional. Onimisa wuntume started before Frobia mani yeyi. Now there was that Nkrumah tradition there, and then the UP tradition. Now ni obetuma say no, and only the Nkrumah tradition. Why? Nkrumah himself hailed from a very minority or very minor Akan tribe. Nzema Akan.
Sure.
But as opposed to the tree speaking Akan, so no more Ketuebi. In the case of UP, it started from the Asantehini's own house. Now, in the case of Ashanti, it's about the biggest region in Ghana.
Right.
I have to say Ashanti. Right. New Jabe, Ashanti. Obi Anson himself, Kwawu, Ashanti. Into that tradition, we could, and I chum for so do a wako count. Into that tradition, we are so I saw tend to them compromise or destroy one be into a goddamn compromise, no, at the bar, no. Every day, lecturers are away. Kwame na away no muchira idea university. Nimko phone bebreye compromise. HSM. O yi Nkrumah free no no aba abehye eho. So even though na ye nim John Evans Atamils in NDC circles, everybody knew him in the compromise circles.
Oh, okay.
International say balance says so no gina homa militarism. Kwame Nkrumah for na we di na chi ni nyina so mba hu so mo pani nie. Ko chikata on some Rollins or Nkrumah nipa.
Okay.
Any professor why Kofi
I would know.
Nkrumah enipa. Why mu nyina Nkrumah Nkrofo. Dramani mama omo a emisa atamo ne party ni nyina akwa Nkrumah dia. Nti ma mempa Nkrumah nipa manti he was thinking about the continuity of his tradition. Very important. Now you go to Akufo-Addo Ubo Nedino. Tama Ochusu Baumiano. No ni abaimu. No ni abaimu. Until he had enough time to coach the person. Okay. And Okokofa technocrat. Edene by. In much the same way, President Kofo or no so Echusu Eliu Mahama. No so ni abaimu.
Okay. So what abaimu is different from say uni abaimu. And
no so ni na no sawasha. Normal me bubo din philosophically you di vice president no say wo sha continuity dey na ni ho because oni aban mu a ne aka no mu di adwuma wan twi so obi ofri ni krom.
That's right.
Akufo-Addo chose somebody from the north. Mahama chose somebody from the south, and Kofo chose somebody from the north, and then Rollins also being from Volta chose an Akan. Inti oche so mu hina the concept ni ye adwuma.
All right.